I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sorrell?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hanson? Councilor Grasso?
Here.
Councilor Farini?
Here.
Councilor Marchand?
Here.
Councilor Panalakis?
Here.
Councilor Hines?
Here.
Councilor Reynolds?
Here.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Here.
I'd like to ask everyone to rise for a moment of silent prayer, and then Councilor Marchand will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by God Bless America.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
We are down to the proclamation, and I am going to ask Councilor Grasso to read it. And it's regarding Read Across America, which will be March 2nd, 2004. With us tonight is the Cat in the Hat, and also Diane McGee, who is the president of the Association of Portsmouth Taxpayers. And I always do that. Hold on. I just do that every time. I'm so sorry. The Association of Teachers. I'm very sorry. I apologize 100 times so far. We're going to have Joanne read it, and then I want you to come down and say a few words.
The proclamation says on March 2nd, but I think it's the 3rd, is it?
Oh, it's the second.
March 2nd, 2004 will be the 100th anniversary of the birth of the beloved children's author, Dr. Seuss. And whereas the city of Portsmouth will join the nationwide celebration by once again participating in the Read Across America program, sponsored by the National Education Association and supported locally by the Portsmouth School Department and the Association of Portsmouth Teachers. And whereas reading aloud to children sparks their interest and stimulates their emotional development and imagination. And whereas the citizens of Portsmouth consider children their greatest asset and hope for the future, and stand firmly committed by promoting reading as the catalyst for our students' future academic success, their preparation for America's jobs of the future, and their ability to compete in a global economy. Now, therefore, I, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, do hereby join with all the members of the City Council in proclaiming March 2nd, 2004 as Read Across Portsmouth Day, and invite all and encourage all citizens and employees of the city to set aside time to demonstrate reading for their own enjoyment and to read to our young citizens, because as any Dr. Seuss character might say, you would not want to miss a celebration such as this. Given with my hand and the seal of the City of Portsmouth on this 9th day of February 2004, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of Portsmouth.
Thank you, Julian. And I'd like to have you all come forward, especially the Cat in the Hat. The kids are waiting for that at home. And I want to apologize again. But you know I do that all the time, don't you? He's quite really loud.
APC president and an APC president in the same cul-de-sac.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sweetheart. And I've talked and done my duties that you've asked for with the K-9 dog.
Thank you. I'll just take a few minutes of your time.
Yes, you go right ahead.
First of all, I'd like to introduce Kelly Pilgrim, who is my cat in the hat tonight. And she will be passing out a little gift from the APT, which is the Association of Portsmouth Teachers. Hear ye, one and all. It's a Seuss centennial, so come have a ball. 100 years ago, our Dr. Seuss was born. Although he isn't living, it is no time to mourn. It is a time to celebrate the man and his legacy, the stories he gave the world. I'm sure you will agree. I'm asking you to come and read to students galore in the morning or afternoon in the city of the open door. You can read about Bartholomew, the Lorax, and such, Sidwick the Moose, Gertrude McFuzz. They'll love it very much. Tuesday, March the 2nd is this very important day. From 9 to 3, come anytime. I'm sure you'll know the way. And later on to Barnes & Noble bookstore we will go, where B.J. Hickman will put on a terrific magic show. We'll even sing happy birthday and share a birthday cake. The time is 4 to 6, so please do not be late. Mrs. Grasso said that she would be handling wherever you would like to go and whatever time you would like to go. So if you can get in contact with her, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much for your commitment to Read Across America.
Thank you, Diane.
Mayor Sorrell,
Thank you, Cat in the Hat.
before our guests sit down, can I just add one thing?
Yes?
I just would like to inform my colleagues and the members of the audience and our citizens at home that the author, Dr. Seuss, his real name was Theodore Geisel, which I'm sure you know. He happened to have been born in New England, down in Springfield, Mass., which happens to be the next town over, well, it's the city of the suburb in which I grew up in West Springfield. And just last year, down there in Springfield, at the Springfield Library, was unveiled a very nice assortment in the courtyard. It's in front of the Springfield Library in Massachusetts. There's an area called the Quadrangle because the Springfield Natural History Museum is there. And there's some very large bronze statues of Dr. Seuss characters, Horton the elephant, Stack of Yertle the turtles, the Lorax, etc. And it's a lovely place to take kids if people happen to be down in the Springfield area.
Thank you, Ned. Thank you, girls, very much. We are down to the acceptance of the minutes of the meeting for January 26, 2004. What's your wish?
So moved.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. We're down to the public comment session, and as you all know, we have 8 speakers, so that gives each one 3 minutes apiece. And after 3 minutes, our city manager holds up the thank you sign. I'm sorry, boy, I'm not with it tonight, and I'm drinking water. Our city attorney will hold up the thank you sign. And please sit down when he holds that up. Melvin Trefetherin, a letter from Mr. Glenn, I can't read that last name. Infernal Court.
Water access.
Okay, water access.
Good evening. Madam Mayor and members of the council, my name is Melvin Trefethen, known to my friends as Sandy. I reside at 49 Ridges Court, and I've been a lifelong resident of the city. And I'm here tonight to speak to the letter from Mr. Glenn Normando regarding the proposed ramp and flow for the McLeod property on Ridges Court that is on tonight's council agenda. I first learned of the agenda item yesterday as I was browsing the internet. At that time, I had no knowledge regarding the specific nature of Mr. Normando's letter or the McLeod's request. However, given the history of the Fernal Court right-of-way and public access to the water, I felt it necessary to take action to ensure that any construction whatsoever will not interfere with public access to Fernal Court, the water, or the recreational use of that water enjoyed by the city's residents for over 40-plus years. I have no obstruction to building a dock and a float, no objections to building a dock and a float, so long as it does not infringe upon the Fernal Court public servitude or within the 20-foot abutting sidelines that extend into the water. Now, this morning I had the opportunity to visit the city's clerk's office and review the letter and Mr. Normando's request. I learned that the current proposal will in fact create a significant obstruction into the recreational use of the water at the end of Fernal Court by infringing within the 20-foot sidelines. Additionally, I would add that the issue of the Fernal Court right-of-way and access and use of the water has in fact been previously decided by this council via action taken during the council meeting on July 20th, 1998. I'm asking, in light of that, I'm asking that rather than refer this issue to the planning board as recommended by the city manager, that the city council decline to draft the letter requested by Mr. Normando. Such an action tonight would prevent the planning board from having to revisit a previously decided issue. The council tonight should vote to instruct the city manager to draft the letter to Mr. Normando denying his request, citing that the city council has previously determined, if not explicitly, at least implicitly, that any obstruction to the water via Fernal's Court or any obstruction limiting the use of that water will not be allowed. With that being said, I respectfully request that the city council accept the petition signed by several area residents generated yesterday requesting that the city council continue to take actions that will not infringe upon the wonderful recreational water use that we have at the end of Fernal's Court at this time.
Thank you. Would you like to pass your petition right here to the
and thank you.
clerk? Next speaker is T.J. Wheeler, and he wants to speak regarding sister cities.
Good evening, everybody. And there's three of us here speaking, and the other two have asked me to take one of their minutes each. So if I could have 5 minutes, that would be great. Thank you. First of all, it is the 20th anniversary of the Seacoast Black Heritage Festival, a festival that throughout the Seacoast celebrates February, which is Black History Month. And I've brought a couple of posters, one with all of the events, and another one with a special event on February 21st, a big fundraising dinner at the VFW Hall. The Sister City Project is our keynote project that we're doing this year, and it's quite a collective of organizations. I'm just getting back from Ghana about a week ago, where I was with Ron Wyman and Vida Gallioni. After getting the blessing from the City Council to go there, we went there to explore the possibilities of not just a symbolic, but a real sister city relationship. I brought back a letter from, we met with several kings in several different areas. Accra is a city of 2 million people, so as we said to the City Council before, we wanted to pick out just certain sections of Accra that we thought would especially hold a kinship between Portsmouth and the regional areas. One region is in the mountains, which is just a beautiful area with a botanical garden. Another one is right on the coast, fantastic. Another one is right in the city itself. This is the one from Kitase, which is in the mountains. And this is to the mayor and all of you. Your letter of proclamation of the sister city relationship between Portsmouth and Accra and its environments, and that of the Director of International Trade of New Hampshire, have been received with much thanks. It's our dream come true, since we have for quite a long time yearned for this sister city relationship, as it has successfully worked and assisted in promoting exchange programs in the area of culture, business development, education, trade, etc., in certain districts and communities in Ghana here, and has highly accelerated general development in these areas. I, as the writer of this letter, am the traditional chief of a community called Kitase, on a small mountain overshadowing Accra City, and it's one of the surrounding traditional communities of Accra. Dear Mayor, the city of Accra is a large one comprising of the traditional groupings. My community, once a small community, is now fast developing, and it is the reason for more people pushing to reside there. The community has so many potentials that can be exploited when this relationship is established. I and my council of chiefs and elders therefore highly welcome the Portsmouth City's noble intention in establishing such a relationship and your laudable proclamation in support of this idea. We will therefore be grateful if your city does establish such a relationship with my community to help achieve certain goals and objectives that will be beneficial to all of us. We are further thankful for the United States of America's love and vision for Africa in general, and Ghana in particular. We are looking forward to hear from you soon. And
TJ, you said that you were speaking for the two others, Jean Hill and Valerie Cunningham?
Jean Hill and Peter Randall.
Oh, and Peter Randall.
Right.
So we'll give them a little bit more time.
I took 1 minute of each of their time, making it 5 minutes altogether.
Well,
so they still have 2 minutes. But it was a wonderful trip, and I really I think that a wonderful creation of a sister city with this area would add to the important need for increased diversity of our city, and truly just really make our proclamation of being a city of the open door much more of a reality than a dream. I'd like to present to the mayor this greetings from Ghana. This is a sash made with the traditional kente cloth and the printing, which is fantastic, and some pictures of the trip. I would like to invite all of the city, as well as all of you, to the right over at the Connie Bean Center and the Seacoast African American Cultural Center on the second floor. Each Saturday of the month from 10 to 4, there will be an exhibit celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Seacoast African American Heritage Festival, with a special exhibit on items brought back and gifts that they gave us in return for the wonderful gifts that not only you, but the International Trade Center and the Blues Bank gave. So I'd like to give this to you.
Thank you, TJ. And I told you the correct way to go on this, didn't I? Writing the letter to us?
Yes.
For
There will be a full, we'll get on the docket for a full hearing next month, I hope.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to present you a wonderful letter of support from Eileen Foley.
Very, very good.
Two posters. And the most important name.
Okay.
It's wonderful. Can't get caught.
That I will put out in my my display case.
Okay.
So everybody will get to see that.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. The next one is Gene Hill Jr. Gene, you've only got a couple minutes now.
Good evening, everybody on the City Council. My name is Gene Hill Jr., a native, not a native, but a long-time resident of this city. In your deliberations about making this a sister city between Ghana and us, in my 20 years of military life, I traveled over 2/3 of the face of the earth, and I made myself a native of whatever place I was in order to learn what was going on. I learned that in every locality, there's a personality to it, there's a history to it, there's lots of intelligence in it. So when you're considering this exchange, there's a lot of history and a lot of intelligence that can be exchanged from us to them and from them to us. So that would be my criteria for, thinking about this seriously. I thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Valerie Cunningham? No. Very good. Peter Randall?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was just speaking to follow up and to support what TJ has said. I've been to Ghana. I spent a month there about 20 years ago and plan to go back again. But as I've talked about what I did over there, it's amazing the number of people in this area that have links to Ghana. It's not like when we had the sister city relationship starting with Michigan, nobody knew anybody over there, and it's amazing the number of people from here who already know something about Ghana, people from here that have gone over there. There's all sorts of ties, and I think it makes a wonderful relationship that we can have to just expand our knowledge about another part of the world that most of us don't know too much about. I think the mayor will be pleased to know that the hardest working people in Ghana seem to be the women. And when I went over there, I went over to document a project for the United Nations about a new way to smoke fish. And of course, the people who smoked the fish were the women. Ghana is on the coast. It's in West Africa, and fish is a very important part of their life, as it has been a very important part of this town as well. When I was there were two fishing fleets. One was owned by the government of Ghana, one was owned by what we refer to as the fish mammies. The fleet run by the state of Ghana sat tied up. The fleet ran by the fish mammies, which are 100-foot ships run by usually Norwegian sea captains. Those boats went out every day and brought back the fish that came into Ghana. I did a little booklet which will show you a little bit about what life is like in Ghana, and I hope in times to come we can learn a lot more about them. So when the time comes, I would urge your support to help us create this program.
Thank you very much, Peter. Oh, great. Thank you, Peter. All right, now we're down to Student Government Day, and the first speaker is Patrick Graham. Oh, all right, we'll call them all up. Neil, I think that's Neil Susi, and Mackenzie Gray. Did I get that right?
Your Honor, they also would like counsel to act on 10E of the agenda of the written communication.
Okay, very good.
Good evening. My name is Ariel Susi. I reside at 120 Fern Avenue in Rye. I'm here this evening with Mackenzie Gray, Patrick Graham, and my student council advisor, Mary Carey Foley, or as you would know her, MCF. I would like to ask you to vote to allow Student Government Day 2004. I've participated in this program 2 years in past. My first year as the fire chief. On this day, I had the opportunity to visit a majority of the firehouses in our area. In my junior year, I was the superintendent of schools. On this day, I planned for the school board meeting and attended the Rotary meeting. Both were inspirational opportunities. So I would like to ask you once again to allow for Student Government Day 2004.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Patrick Graham. I'm a junior at PHS, and I'm here to ask for your approval on the Student Government Day 2004. Last year, I got to take the place of Mr. Clay Hayward. Being part of the school board taught me a lot. I never knew how much time and effort it takes to be a member of the board. I also never knew what an impact the school board has on all the students. They pretty much decide what is in the best interest of the students, teachers, and community. I would appreciate it if you would allow us this wonderful experience again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mackenzie Gray, and I am a sophomore at Portsmouth High School. I am here tonight to talk about Student Government Day. Last year, I participated in Student Government Day and found it to be a lot of fun and very educational. I was lucky enough to assume a school board position. I had no idea how much goes into maintaining excellence in Portsmouth schools. This year, since I'm not afraid to speak up, I will be applying for one of your positions. If chosen, I am sure that Student Government Day 2004 will again be a very worthwhile learning experience for me. Thank you for your time, and I urge you to approve Wednesday, March 24th as Student Government Day 2004. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask one of the council to suspend the rules and take up the letter under written presentations, and then we'll take a vote on it.
So moved. Second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now, I would like somebody to read the letter in full. Who would like that? Joanne, have you got it?
Yes.
Okay.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, Portsmouth Municipal Complex, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Dear Mayor Sorrell and members of the City Council, the Portsmouth High School Student Council is in the process of organizing Student Government Day 2004. With your vote and approval, Wednesday, March 24, 2004 will officially be known as Student Government Day in Portsmouth. On this day, selected high school students will assume various municipal roles as well as city council positions. We trust you agree that Student Government Day has proved to be very worthwhile and an enjoyable experience for all those involved in it, and we hope that you will enthusiastically endorse it again this year. We appreciate all of your support and cooperation in past years and look forward to working with you on yet another successful Student Government Day. Most sincerely, Ariel Susi, Student Council President, Portsmouth High School, Mary Carey Foley, Student Council Advisor.
Do I get a second on that letter?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Mary, did you want to say a few words? No? Okay. John?
For the council's information, the city council student counterparts will sit with you on March 15th. So they'll be here with you on March 15th. Ms. Foley, did we determine a day when we were going to do the orientation that we do with the students? Did we get a date on that? The 17th.
Okay.
At 9:30.
Okay, thank you. I believe so, okay.
Of the construction.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Mary Carey. Thank you, Ted. That ends the public comment session, and now we are down to a public hearing regarding resolution to increase the veterans' tax exemption. Shall we basket them? Okay, we can basket them. And does anyone want to speak to it? Bob, the only thing I'm going to ask of you is, would you explain to the veterans out there why 4 of the councilors cannot vote for this?
Yes, Your Honor. State law and the council's rules prohibit council members from voting on matters in which they have a direct pecuniary interest. It turns out that 4 members of the council sitting tonight, in fact, received one of the exemptions, or one of the credits that's about to be discussed, the veterans exemption. And those 4 members are yourself, Your Honor, Councilors Grasso, Hines, and Whitehouse. Therefore, under the council rules and state law in general, those councilors may not vote on the veterans exemption. The other 2, the credits, every member of the council may vote.
So what you're saying is what number, Bob?
The first item, Your Honor.
All right, the veterans tax credit. There'll be 4 of us that will be voting no against that. So we can't really basket them. It's going to have to be a separate vote. What was that?
You won't be voting against, you'll be abstaining.
Abstaining, yes. Let's separate them, Joanne, okay? Because all of us can vote on the other 2. All right, so the first one is the veterans tax credit. Julian? I'm sorry out there, I don't know where I'm coming from tonight. We can basket it for the public hearing. It is a public hearing, and I'm going to open it up for first-time speakers, for, against, or simply to. Do I have any speakers? Please come forward.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and honorable members of the City Council. I just want to thank the council and the previous councils for the work that they've done in the opening of the new high school. This can be on my time out. It's a beautiful building, and it certainly will add to the educational experience for the kids that will be attending the high school. But it's due to you and the appropriations of the taxpayers that made this new building as marvelous as it is. I'm an old veteran. I've been around a long time. I'm an octogenarian, and we're dying off like swatted flies. About 1,000 a week, at least, from Korea and World War II. So, to the other veterans that are sitting at home, I would ask that you approve this particular resolution. Now, you can have it both ways, really. You give them $100 exemption. It's correct, isn't it? 100 for this 2 years, and then if a subsequent council feels that that's too much and the tax burden is too heavy and the educational law changes, then you can reverse that, although you might have some protest, but at least the option is there. So I would ask you in this particular resolution, the first resolution, to pass it in honor of the veterans who served honorably, and also the veterans that will be coming back from Iraq and other services in Bosnia and so forth, that they get the exemption. $100 doesn't seem like much, but it will be $200. Let me conclude by saying one thing. the council cannot act without some law from the legislature, and I'm certainly glad that our city manager pointed that out to some of the council members who were young and a bit naive about the way the system works the last time around, that the legislature allows this to be done, and it's up to there is an option for the city to implement it, but it is the city, the state government, the Senate and House and Governor that approve the legislation that enact this law.
Thank you, Charlie, very much. Next speaker, name and address, please.
Kyle Crossan, Langelia, 304 Leslie Drive. I guess I'm speaking on A3, but I would probably be speaking on all of them. I am the recent widow of Francis Crossan, who was 100% disabled Vietnam veteran. When we started to receive the tax benefit of $1,400 in 1994, it was a substantial amount in comparison to our tax bill. 3 years ago, due to the need to downsize, I purchased my home on Leslie Drive. In 3 years' time, my taxes have doubled, and in the last year, they rose $1,000. Although I am grateful as a widow for the tax benefit, it does not have the same impact on my tax bill as it had 10 years ago. As the state of New Hampshire has voted to increase veterans' tax benefit based on the present cost of living, I feel that the City Council should also vote to increase the veterans' tax benefit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carl. Next time speaker, want to come forward? Do I have any second time speakers?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council members and staff. My name is Peter Bresciano, 101 O'Leary Place, and I will fully support the last two, which are for the disabled and the spouses. I have no qualms over that. As for the veterans, well, I, as a veteran, do receive this exemption of $100, and it might be noted that it's not $100 off of the assessment value of your home. It's actually $100 off of your tax bill, which I am grateful for. I hate to speak in for or against something that I probably sometimes feel like other people are more worthy to get than I. So I won't speak in favor or against it. I'll just say it's up to the City Council. But I do have a question regarding these three proposals, and that is, if the City Council does not take action on these particular issues, will the legislation, is there some kind of a sunrise provision where the provision is no longer can be applied to the veterans within the municipality if you don't vote yea or nay on each of these? Thank you.
Bob?
First off, if the council takes no action on the credits as they now are all under statute, then the status quo remains going forward. The statutes would remain in place, and if council next year or the year after, for example, should decide to act upon the credits at that time, the council could do so.
Do I have any other second-time speakers? Please come forward.
Martin Cameron, 469 Ocean Road. I didn't really plan on speaking on this issue, but I wanted to go ahead and speak on number 3. But a couple of things
came... You can speak on all of them, Martin.
What's that?
You can speak on all
of them. Yeah, thanks. But a couple of things came to mind when things were said that brought this to my attention. I just remember back some numbers a few years ago. I think maybe 1994, the city was, total valuation was $850 million. Then I think the next valuation, we went to 1.3 billion from that figure, and we have now gone to about what, 2.1? Is that about right?
2.9.
2.9. So what I'm getting at, I guess you can all, you know the point I'm driving at. In other words, the evaluation of the city tripled, yet the veterans exemption stayed at 100. So just looking at it that way, I don't think it's too much to really think about too long. When you start comparing the values of what went up on dollar-wise, I really don't, and you go ahead and think about the 100. In other words, it wouldn't be rising with the tide, would it? Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Second time around, do I have any speakers?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I better introduce myself. I always get up here and get so anxious to talk and speak. As a former teacher, I guess I never give my name. I'm Charlie Vaughn. I live at 50 Pleasant Point Drive. Retired from the Air Force in 1965. And I've taught school in Dover. But I'd like to speak to 2 and 3. I didn't realize, Mayor, that we could address 1, 2, and 3. But I'd like to speak to 2 and 3, especially number 3, some of the surviving benefits that would be necessary for widows and their children to get this credit, which will be coming to them. I'm a disabled veteran also. I don't look it, but I think if we talk to Sally, we'll find out it's different. So I obviously will speak for the second one. But I sincerely think that number 3 is the most significant, plus number 1, because that's encompassing to many of the young people and that are becoming back, and the understanding that you folks and the elected officials appreciate the service that's rendered by young people, young men who give their lives for service to their country. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. We are to third time around. Do I have any other speakers?
Good evening again, Martin Cameron. I just might as well talk to number 3, which is the one I really wanted to talk to in the first place. In my off time, I'm retired, 30 years total military. I work at the volunteers over at the shipyard in the retired activities office. And our job there, our mission and our duty there is we're in contact with the survivors, the widows, and so forth of deceased military, active duty, and also retired military. And we deal mostly with retired military because they're the ones that are passing away, like Charlie brought up. At about the rate of 1,200 a week nationwide. But I'm in contact with the widows. And sometimes it's kind of a little difficult when you first start your conversation. You have to point out that first of all, we have to call to the office. We have to call the Defense Authority in Cleveland, Ohio. That's the military pay center, and the retired paycheck has to stop as soon as possible, because if it doesn't stop, the government comes in and they just take the money out. And then there's forms to fill out so that there's money paid to the widow for compensation for the date of death. If it were on the 15th of the month, the widow would then receive the 15 days pay for that month that the widow passed away, or the military person. We also, like I said, we get into people that have on active duty, and we've sent out folders when we were working with the Third Infantry Division out of Fort Stewart, I think it was Georgia. We received a personnel sheet there from each individual soldier that went into Iraq and so forth. And our job was to contact the family members and let them know that we're here to assist them on any kind of questions that might come up on the health care or insurance or anything that they wanted to ask about. Give us a call and we'll get the answers, because we have access to all the phone lines across the world, and whatever you want, we'll get it for you. But I want to let you know, the compensation for a widow right now, for somebody dies on active duty, is what they call indemnity compensation, and the payment would be $948 a month. Now, also on the active duty, they do have insurance that goes up to the amount of $250,000. And that is, and also the government does give out a one-time payment of now $12,000. It was $6,000 last year, and $3,000 of that was taxable, but it's now gone up to $12,000. Now, on a retired military, when the retired pay stops, it's all finished. And unless the individual had the survivor benefit plan, and that's a paid annuity that you'd have to pay in the amount of, say, $200 or to $300 a month. If that's not in effect, that widow is down the tubes. So I just wanted to bring those numbers out to you and let you know that I think the number 3 is probably, without a doubt, to me it's the most important. I've seen some pretty sad cases where they passed away and there was no survivor benefit and nothing else. There were some bills to pay and that was it. So I wouldn't want to add to that problem. They need all the help they can get. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Third and final time, do I have any other speakers? I declare the public hearing closed. We're down to the approval of grants and donations. The first one is acceptance of a grant from the Trust Health Promotion Well Daughters Grant Program. What you wish, everybody?
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilor Whitehouse.
Your Honor, I move that the City Council accept the grant of $2,089.50 awarded to the City of Portsmouth from the Trust Health Promotional Well Dollars Grant Program.
I'll second that. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The next one is an acceptance of the Police Department donation from the Portsmouth Regional Hospital in the amount of $1,200 for the Police Honor Guard. Councilor Pandelakis?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the amount of $1,200 from the Portsmouth Regional Hospital for the Police Department Honor Guard.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Okay, very good. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to considerations of resolutions and ordinances. First reading of ordinance amending Chapter 10, Article 1, Section 10-102A, definitions, and Article 9, Section 10-903B, illumination and motion of signs.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I move that the City Council pass the first reading of this amended ordinance and schedule a public hearing and second reading on March 1st.
Second.
You're on, I'd like to ask, city manager, question. Basically, what this does is it does allow those signs that are up here in action now to remain.
The ones that exist are grandfathered.
Any other discussion? Ned?
Question, Your Honor. I would just like to have an opinion or indication from the city manager or the city attorney as to whether there's any prospect of the grandfathering of existing signs be modified such that any repair or upgrade of an existing sign would also be, in other words, I understand that we cannot lawfully require businesses to take down a sign which we permitted and force on them the expense of replacing. However, is a business with an existing sign allowed, should their rotating flashing sign wear out, are they allowed to put up a new replacement? Or at that time, do they have to...
Under state law, if someone on Route 1 should have a moving and flashing sign right now, something otherwise not permitted by our ordinance, they could maintain and repair the existing sign. They would not be allowed to expand or improve or replace the sign. And that's really a matter of state law.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are down to the adoption of proposed resolution to increase veterans' tax exemptions. We will take these separate. The first one is B1, Veterans Tax Credit.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion. Do you want me to read the resolution?
Yeah.
Pursuant to RSA 72:28, the City of Portsmouth hereby adopts an optional veterans tax in the amount of $200 as of April 1st, 2004, an optional veterans tax in an amount of $300 as of April 1st, 2005, an optional veterans tax in the amount of $400 as of April 1st, 2006, and an optional veterans tax credit in the amount of $500 as of April 1st, 2007, for every resident who has served in the armed forces in any qualifying wars of the armed conflict as listed in RSA 72:28 and was honorably discharged, or the spouse or surviving spouse of such residents.
Did I get a second on that? John?
Second.
Oh, okay. Thank you, John. Are we ready for the vote? Roll call vote.
Councilor Grasso?
Abstain.
Councilor Farini?
In favor.
Councilor Marchand?
In favor?
Councilor Panalakis?
In favor.
Councilor Hines?
Abstain.
Councilor Reynolds?
In favor?
Councilor Whitehouse?
Abstain.
And Mayor Sorrell.
Abstained. Thank you. Very good. Now we're down to the next one, B2, Disabled Veterans Tax Credit. Tom?
Your Honor, I'd requested the Chair's guidance and permission to read the ordinance and then make the motion.
Okay, go right ahead.
Pursuant to RSA 72:35, the City of Portsmouth hereby adopts an optional tax credit in the amount of $1,700 as of April 1, 2004, an optional tax credit in the amount of $1,800 as of April 1, 2005, an optional tax credit in the amount of $1,900 as of April 1, 2006, an optional tax credit in the amount of $2,000 as of April 1, 2007, on the taxes due on the residential property of any veteran who has been honorably discharged and who has a total and permanent service-connected disability or is a double amputee or paraplegic because of the service-connected injury, or is the surviving spouse of a qualified veteran that has not remarried. And I would like to move its adoption.
Second.
Very good. Discussion? You all ready for the vote then? Roll call. Did you want a roll call on that one, Howard?
I'm not asking, no.
No. Okay, I guess then.
No, we can all vote on this?
Yes.
Yes, we can all vote on this. Yeah. Then roll call wasn't asked for on this.
So just move the motion if you don't want a roll call.
Okay, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? B3, surviving spouses veterans tax credit. Who would like to take that on? John?
Thank you, Your Honor. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Portsmouth City Council, and that has been done. The surviving spouse credit is to allow a survivor of a disabled veteran to receive $1,700 in the year 2005, and then add $100 per year in the year 2006, 7, and 8 to reach the $2,000 level. For the surviving spouses of veterans who are not disabled, they would then receive the same amount that a veteran would receive had he been continued to live, and that would be $200 in the year 2005, and add on $100 to that in the years 2006, 7, 8, and that would raise it to $500, which is the state voted maximum.
Okay. John, would you clarify that?
Yes, Your Honor, if I might. Just that the resolution would be to adopt a surviving spouse tax credit in the amount of $1,700 as of April 1st, 2004. Adopt a surviving spouse tax credit in the amount of $1,800 as of April 1st, 2005. A surviving spouse tax credit in the amount of $1,900 as of April 1st, 2006. A surviving spouse's tax credit in the amount of $2,000 as of April 1st, 2007. On the taxes due upon a surviving spouse real property for the surviving spouse of any person who was killed or died while on active duty in the armed forces in any of the qualifying wars or armed conflicts as listed in RSA 7228, so long as surviving spouse does not remarry. Just to clarify that.
John, did you want to make the motion?
I'll make that motion, and I apologize for trying to deprive the veterans of the year 2004 compensation.
Second.
Thank you, John. Discussion? Are you all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Now we're down to third and final reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7, Period 330, no parking, Bond Street, northerly side from northwest corner of the building at 299 Bond Street, easterly 20 feet. And I'm going to ask Councilor Marchant to make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we pass the third and final reading of the amended ordinance as submitted.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Third and final reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7, Period 330, no parking, subsection A, regarding Porter Street. Councilor Reynolds, would you make the motion?
I make the motion that we adopt this motion to pass the third and final reading of this amended ordinance as submitted.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now we're down to presentations and considerations of written communications. And the first one is a letter from Barbara Masser, Pro Portsmouth, Inc., requesting permission to hold the 14th Annual Children's Day on Sunday, May 2nd, 2004. Councilor Hines?
Move this to the city manager with power.
Second.
Discussion? Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, Your Honor. Here again, I bring to your attention another busy day downtown in the city of Portsmouth. On that Sunday, we also got an AIDS walk. We also got a grand detour bike tour through the city. And we also have Children's Day where we'll be blocking off some streets. So we've got a pretty busy Sunday day on the May 2nd.
Very good. Any other discussion on this? All ready for the vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? A letter from Barbara Massa, Pro Portsmouth, Inc., requesting permission to hold the 27th Annual Market Square Day on Saturday, June 12th, 2004. Councilor Whitehouse.
Your Honor, I move to the city manager with power.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? A letter from Kathy Lynch, Portsmouth Little League, Inc., requesting permission to place temporary signage at the Plains and Hislop Park baseball fields during the 2004 baseball season.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I move to city manager with power.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, Your Honor. Just to bring to the city manager's attention that these banners should be facing inward into the field because a mistake was made, I think, 2 years ago.
And Ms. Lynch is here, too.
Thank you.
Yeah. All ready for the vote? There's the hard worker sitting out there. She deserves a lot of credit. Thank you. All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It's in your court now. Now we're down to a letter from Nancy Noel, Sexual Assault Support Services, requesting permission to hold the 12th Annual Walkathon on Sunday, April 18th, 2004. Tom?
I'll move to the city manager with power.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The next one we've done, a letter from Anthony Ron requesting permission to store his lobster traps on the shores of the North Mill Pond.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Pendelard.
I move to city manager with power.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Oh, wait a minute, did I, oh, you, no, I got just a second. Any discussion?
Just one point of information. How many traps are we talking about, roughly?
He's sitting right here. Mr. Ron's right here.
You got his name.
Okay, 150.
150, 150, everyone. Okay. You already,
Question, and just, the implication here is that this is city property, public property?
The property that's in question, and I'll defer to the city attorney if I don't get it correct. The property in question has been leased to the city of Portsmouth. Is that correct, Bob?
Yeah, this is property which was actually donated to the city, if you will, in the settlement of a zoning case a number of years ago. Because of environmental problems on the land, we didn't want to actually take title in the sense of receiving a full fee simple deed. But what we have is an easement which conveys to the city virtually every incident of ownership relating to this land, except for responsibility for the environmental conditions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Any other questions before we take the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Letter from Jeannie Sylvester, Runner's Alley, requesting permission to hold the 7th Annual Runner's Alley Red Fork Brewery Memorial 5K Race on Sunday, May 30th, 2004. What you wish, councilors. Councilor Grasso?
Your Honor, I move this to the city manager with power.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Glenn Normandeau regarding a proposed ramp and slope for the McLeod property on Ridges Court.
Madam Mayor?
Councilor Hines.
I refer this to the planning board for a report back.
Madam Mayor?
For discussion, Your Honor.
Okay.
Second
Gotta get
for
a
discussion.
second on it.
I second it
Chris.
for discussion.
Okay. What is
Madam Mayor, I would like to table this issue until we hear what the action was on July 20th, 1998, the next council meeting.
Are you talking, what action are you talking about?
There was some type,
Planning board or something?
well, the gentleman quoted a date that some action was taken.
I think if the council wants to bring the council up to date on this.
Boss?
Yes, Your Honor. There was, at that time, a significant controversy concerning the nature of the Paper Street Fernall Court, which runs from Newcastle Avenue to the water in that back channel. At that time, a significant study was undertaken by the city, by its planning board, and ultimately decisions were made by the city council, reaching a conclusion that the city owns Fernall Court, unlike some paper streets, and in fact owns Fernall Court all the way to the water, so that members of the public are free to travel on the Paper Street portion of Fernall Court to reach the back channel, where there is in fact a small dock there and an area where a boat could be launched, kayak for example. And the City Council, in connection with a matter involving the building of a home by Mr. and Mrs. Harvey, made a very clear determination that the policy of the city would be to defend its interest in Fernall Court, defend the right of the public to pass down Fernall Court to reach the water, and defend the rights of the public to use that little beach area, as apparently had been done for, as indicated, at least 40 years. That's what happened back in 1998.
I think Councilor Whitehouse is going to tell us about going swimming.
I'm not going to say too much, Your Honor, because you always say I shouldn't be representing the South End. So if I get your permission to talk about the South End, could I?
You
please?
go right ahead and
Thank
tell
you,
the
Your
new
Honor.
council.
Not only Fernall Court, but Ridges Court has been a swimming hole for the last 150 years. Now, they are concerned, and my phone is ringing off the hook also, Your Honor, that they're concerned about extending the pier and putting in a float is going to jeopardize the mothers taking the young children down there at high tide for an afternoon in the middle of July and August for some relaxation and enjoyment. And they are concerned, and I assured them that if this is referred to the planning board and report back, that is where they should make their views known. They have to have a public hearing on this, and I just hope that they turn out, because this is a delicate issue. They're taking away, it seems, almost yearly, areas that have been known as old swimming holes and places for the South Enders to relax and call their own. So please, if you hear me out there, if it comes before the planning board for a report back, pay attention to the agenda and speak at the public hearing.
Councilor Hines.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, I refer this to the planning board for the reason that I want to find if they can see any reason why a condition has changed that would allow the council to reconsider the decision of the previous council.
Any other discussion, Councilor Grasso?
Yes, I would like to just make a motion to table this.
Okay. I'll second the motion to table.
All right, discussion on the table in motion?
How do we get around to that? Wait, you want to...
do we have...
Back, this is just table.
Do we have competing motions then? Was there a motion to refer to the planning board, or that one was seconded?
Your Honor, I'll withdraw my motion.
John's withdrawn his, so now we're to...
Tabling to...
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, very good. We all ready? Yes.
May I ask a question?
Did I get a second on the table one?
Yes, Councilor Whitehouse seconded.
Okay.
If this is a planning board matter, what is it doing before us first?
No, and I'll let Bob speak to it, but the issue really deals with the encroachment within 20 feet of the city's property line. If you look at the attachment, you can see how the property line extends up from Fernal Court and intersects the proposed rim. What they need in order to proceed with this is a letter from the city saying we have no objection to them encroaching within 20 feet of our property line, as if they would need the same thing from any property owner. And that's why you go to the planning board. We want to refer it to the planning board for them to review it.
Any other discussion on the table in motion before we bring it to Councilor Panalakis?
I don't want to table the issue if it would go to the planning board to get a report back, but I certainly do not want to go against what was done in 1998, so...
Your Honor, I was very much involved in everything that happened in 1998, and I absolutely concur in the city manager's recommendation of how this should be handled tonight. What is being requested by Mr. and Mrs. McLeod here is not directly in conflict with any action taken by the council in the past. The decision as to whether or not to issue the letter they need is a policy decision for the city, so it has to be made by the city council. But within city government, when the council is going to make a decision involving the use of land or really anything in connection with city property, the planning board is the body within city government that provides the city council with advice. The planning board is in a much better position to investigate this matter, to hold a public hearing, and to make a reasoned determination than, frankly, is the city council itself. So I guess I very much recommend that you refer this matter to the planning board. Let them do their job. Let them offer you recommendation, and if you don't like it, you don't have to take it.
Joanne?
Well, I guess I withdraw my table, then, motion to table, but the reason for my doing that was that I just didn't see anything that had changed in the interim years, and I know the planning board has plenty to do. So I'll withdraw my motion to table.
Your Honor?
Second withdraw there?
Withdraw the second.
Okay.
The tabling motion having been withdrawn, I'd like to reinstate my motion to refer this to the planning board for a report back.
Thank you very much, Councilor Hines. Did I get a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. Councilor Serene.
I thank you all for the opportunity to further serve on the planning board.
John, this isn't the last of them. You're going to get a lot in the next 2 years. All right. We are ready for the vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. Now we're down to our city manager, and John has 4 items that require action.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first item deals with the request to extend the license agreement for a trash compactor on Ceres Street, and I provided you with a copy of that license extension agreement between the city and owners of Old Ferry Landing, Coco Diablo's, and the Stock Restaurant, which expired in November 30th, 2003. The owners of the establishments are requesting to renew their license for the trash compactor on Ceres Street that services their business. Mr. Jack Blaylock is here tonight representing those businesses. I provided the City Council also, new City Council members, with a photograph of that compactor. There was work done on it last year at the request of the city. They've updated their brickwork over there, so we will again inspect the compactor before we sign off on the license, but it appears that all things are in order.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Yeah, Your Honor, I move that the City Council authorize the City Manager to extend the license agreement between the City of Portsmouth and the Old Ferry Landing, Inc., Coco Diablo's, Inc., and Stock Park Limited for the period of December 1, 2003 through November 30th, 2004.
Do I get a second on that, Ned?
Second?
Okay. Discussion, Joanne?
Yes, Your Honor, we've been doing this for a few years now, and I'm just wondering if we could maybe do this every other year and or is there a reason this comes up to be?
I mean, the owners of those restaurants have been very cooperative, but I like the idea of having it done annually in case there are maintenance issues and the like that come up with it.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Your Honor, may I ask City Attorney a question?
Mm-hmm.
Bob, do we have an ordinance on the books regulating parking in front of dumpsters? Not only vehicle parking, but motorcycle parking?
There is an ordinance on the books regulating parking in front of this dumpster.
There is?
Yes.
I think. Both motorcycles and automobiles.
There are definitely some parking-related issues in how this dumpster operates.
All right. Thank you.
Ned?
Yeah, I just want to sort of make a request. First, let me say I'm a big fan of all the restaurants down there that are served by this compactor. But I have noticed in the past, and I can't help but notice in the picture, that although there is a nice enclosure around the appliance, the gates aren't quite tall enough to obstruct the entire thing, in particular the large Waste Management Inc. placard there. And I'm just wondering, I sort of would like to request that the city manager discuss the prospect of the height of the gates being increased a little bit to actually obscure the at least that portion of the device.
Any other discussion before the vote? And John is writing it down, Ned, so he'll speak the words. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with the request for acceptance of trust document and deed regarding the Lower State Street Pocket Park. And let me just take a couple minutes to give a little background for some of the newer council members. Since 1998, the city has been working with a variety of interested parties to create a permanent solution to the maintenance and care of the Lower State Street Pocket Park, which is presently owned by the Bow Street Theater Trust. And I provided you with a location map as well as a photo of the Pocket Park on State Street. As part of the permanent care of the Lower State Street Pocket Park, the trustees of the trust funds are holding a sum of $25,000, of which $23,000 was provided by the estate of J. Smith, with the expectation that the current owners of the Lower State Street Pocket Park will be able to produce, 1, the deed conveying the park to the city, and 2, an agreement with the city on the terms of the trust to fund maintenance of that park. Each of the foregoing needs to be in compliance with several city council votes commencing in October of 1998. So for all of you that haven't sat on this council since 1998, there has been substantial discussion on this matter. Attached for your information is a proposed deed to the city of Portsmouth property known as the Lower State Street Pocket Park. Also attached, you'll find the proposed declaration of trust under which the city council would commend $25,000 to the trustees of the trust funds on the terms acceptable to the estate of J. Smith and to the current owner of the property, the Bow Street Theater Trust. The city attorney's office has reviewed these documents and has indicated that they appear to be consistent with the various past city council votes. And as the city attorney has advised me, because of the passage of time and due to the fact that these documents contain a few minor new conditions not previously presented to the city council, this matter should be reviewed by the city council for their final consideration. If the city council desires to acquire the Lower State Street Pocket Park in accordance with the terms and conditions established by the attached deed and the proposed trust, then an appropriate motion has been outlined for you in my comments. In addition, the city attorney is here to answer any questions you might have regarding this matter. I would ask for favorable action on this matter, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
So we can discuss?
I'll move. Authorize the city manager to take all necessary steps to execute any necessary documents to acquire the Lower State Street Pocket Park and establish a trust fund for the maintenance in accordance with the documents which have been presented to the city council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
How many documents we got?
Councilor White.
Yes, I'd just like to ask one question.
Bob? Harold? Of Bob?
Yes, in the warranty deed, on the second page, the last sentence of the first paragraph, the city of Portsmouth shall. Are you following me?
I'm with you.
The city of Portsmouth shall have the authority to make reasonable rules and regulations for the use of the park, including the ability to close the park during specified times if deemed necessary. Now, if we if we find that some hot summer night there's a sleepover in the park, how do we secure that park to prevent this?
If this motion passes and if the city manager is able to negotiate and execute and record documents in accordance with the motion, then the city will own that park.
Yeah.
And we would deal with someone having a sleepover there, for example, exactly the same way that we would deal with that person having a sleepover in Prescott Park. Or any other city park.
Yeah, what I was thinking of, Bob, was, are we planning on gating that park, a small gate? Yeah,
There is no plan in existence, to my knowledge, to do that.
All right. That would answer a lot of problems if they did arise.
Okay. Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a request for an easement deed to light, for a light to illuminate the north church steeple. As you're aware, the north church steeple has been illuminated at night by a spotlight that was located on the bank property building off of State Street. With the construction of the condominiums on Porter Street, the spotlight that would illuminate the north church steeple has been moved to the roof of those condominiums. In order to assure that this light will continue to be in place to illuminate the north church steeple, an easement deed is necessary between the City of Portsmouth and the developer Eric Chinberg, known as 325 State Street LLC. I'm requesting that the City Council authorize me to negotiate and execute and record an easement deed that would allow for the illumination of the north church steeple from the condominiums on Porter Street. This essentially was moved because of the conditions of not having light shine into the new condominiums, and the developer consented to have an easement on that property so that we'd have continuous illumination on the north church steeple. So may I have your approval on this matter?
Yes. Somebody would like to make the motion? Councilor Grasso.
Your Honor, I move that we authorize the city manager to negotiate, execute, and record an easement deed that would allow for the illumination of the north church steeple from the condominiums on Porter Street.
Do I get a second, someone?
Second.
Very good. Discussion? Being no discussion, we're all ready for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Your Honor, the next...
Mayor, if I may, would you note my abstention, please?
Yes. Very good.
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a proposal to streamline some of the approval process regarding the placement of telecommunications equipment on city property. The City Council, for those of you that have been on the City Council, you recall that we allowed a zoning ordinance change to allow for telecommunication antennas that can only be placed in municipally zoned areas. This policy was developed to both limit and to mask the number of antennas throughout the city in response to the 1996 Federal Telecommunications Act. Further, this was an opportunity for the city to benefit as well financially. Currently, the city receives over $20,000 per year from two tenants that we've had on the tower behind the Public Works Department in conjunction with our partner who built the tower for us, and at the time we saved almost $240,000 in building this tower. On a regular basis, tenants are identified by our telecommunications management company, Message Center Management, for possible location on water towers and other municipal buildings. However, in this very competitive market, it is necessary to move quickly to avoid losing them to some other location due to approval process. At the August 14, 2000 City Council meeting, the City Council authorized the City Manager to enter into a management agreement with the Message Center Management. The agreement states that the City of Portsmouth will have MCM develop sites that facilitate the installation of communications equipment and devices. Currently, MCM has negotiated two third-party agreements, the first being with an independent Wireless One and the other with AT&T Wireless. Both agreements are for the tower at Public Works facility. As you can see in the chart that I provided you, the city has received over $32,000 in revenues from these towers. Currently, the existing provisions of the city ordinance, which I've attached, allow a cellular telephone antenna in municipal districts, requires each installation be approved by the City Council. While there is an obvious policy rationale supporting the requirements for the City Council approval whether a new antenna tower is constructed, the policy does not seem to require that the City Council be burdened with the approval of cellular antenna installations which do not involve construction of towers, but rather involve placement of unobtrusive attachments to existing municipal facilities at each of our facilities, such as a water tank. The City Attorney's Office has opined that the City Council could lawfully delegate to the City Manager such authority to conduct a review of those antenna installations which do not involve the construction of a tower. This would streamline the process for both the benefit of the City and the cellular communication providers. I provided the City Council with a proposed motion that, if it were adopted, effectively would have the authority, that I would have the authority to provide permission to cellular telephone service providers to place unobtrusive equipment on city property in municipal districts after notifying the City Council in writing of my intent to do so. So I still would advise you of it. This would give us the ability to be competitive, to be able to put those up. At this time, I'd ask your approval on this. If you have any questions of me, I also have the Deputy City Manager, Ted Jankowski, who worked on this and developed the agreement with MCM.
Councilor Hines, would you make the motion, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move that we approve of the plan and place the control of the action under the city manager's control.
Very good. Do I get a second?
Second.
Discussion. Ned?
Quick question for the city manager. You noted that these antennas may only be placed in municipal areas, but also saying that we need to move quickly to avoid losing them in competition. Is the competition then other neighboring towns where they might go and put this antenna in Rye or in Newington if we don't?
I'll ask the Deputy City Manager to come down. I suspect that's the case, but he's been dealing directly with MCM on this matter.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a good
there
question.
Isn't alternatives, then what?
Sure, good
But
question.
I mean, it does seem like a reasonable.
No, it is a very good question, and even though it's only zoned municipally, it does not stop anyone from getting a variance to have an antenna placed on their building anyway. So they can apply to the Board of Adjustment, ask for a variance to have one put on their particular building. And in fact, that's happened. There have been antennas placed on other facilities because, in a sense, maybe we haven't been able to move fast enough. So it's a very competitive market.
But that was our Board of Adjustment that gave them the variance.
Yes.
Any other questions? All ready for the vote?
I have one question.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Mayor. Just a question to get a sense as to what unobtrusive might be under the circumstances.
We, in 1997, after the passage of the Act in 96, we had a study conducted by a summer intern who was a graduate student getting his MBA degree over at UNH. It's a very impressive study. We still have copies of it. But basically, communities could not stop people from locating in a community and putting antennas up anywhere. So this was a very forward-thinking step that the city took to try to control and mask these and make them as unobtrusive as possible. You can actually make these things look like pine trees or palm trees, or they put them in church steeples and others. So you have to be very careful, and you can easily get sued and suddenly end up with an antenna that you don't want it. So unobtrusive would be so you can't see it, I would, as much as possible.
We're going to be looking, such as the water tower, on top of the water tower, or on top of the Public Works facility. If you go out to the Public Works facility, you'll see the tower that we also have our radio communication equipment on, not only ours, but the police departments. And we actually, from our provider, had that built, or the city would have to spend, I think it was about $200,000 that we saved by having them do that.
Does anyone else have any questions of Tess? Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of confused. Do we have an ordinance or don't we have an ordinance?
There is a, if I might, Your Honor.
Yes.
There is the zoning ordinance that requires any approval by the City Council. But the motion that would be put in place, that pursuant to Section 10-11, 10 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Portsmouth, all requests for the placement of telecommunications equipment on city property are hereby referred to the city manager with power to grant those requests which do not involve the construction of new towers or substantial new construction. Further, it is understood that the city manager will advise the City Council in writing of any new proposed installations prior to final approval. So if we do have somebody coming in, we'll get a picture of what it will look like, and we'll send it to...
But that's not my question. My question is, how does our Board of Adjustment go over our zoning?
Okay. I didn't understand your question. I think that's for Bob to probably answer that question.
One of the primary functions that the Board of Adjustment has, as a matter of state law and under our local ordinances, is to grant variances from the literal terms of the zoning ordinance when statutory conditions are been satisfied. People make a request of the Board of Adjustment, which they have a right to do, and the Board of Adjustment conducts its analysis, which it has an obligation to do, and grants variances when it feels that the conditions have been met. In the past, the primary issue, the big condition, has always been that denial of the variance request would lead to unnecessary hardship to the property owner or to the property at issue. I don't know that there's any other way to answer the question other than that.
Well, I'm just confused that you have an ordinance that clearly says something that they have to go on municipal buildings, and the Board of Adjustment finds a hardship with that?
What constitutes a hardship in New Hampshire is, frankly, in a state of flux at this very moment. As recently as 10 days ago, the New Hampshire Supreme Court issued an opinion in a case called Bacon versus Enfield, which the Supreme Court justices themselves argued quite vociferously between themselves as to what constitutes a hardship. Our Board of Adjustment does the best it can with that kind of shifting sand. I'm quite certain that in the very foreseeable future, you will be seeing more decisions from the Supreme Court, hopefully providing a clearer test for every Board of Adjustment, including ours, to apply in the future.
I can add a little bit to that, Councilor. These antennas are very site-specific as to the radio waves, and they can't reach over a long distance. So they can't be obstructed by trees or other things. So, for instance, we might have a city building that they can't locate on because there are trees around it that would interfere with their radio signal. So, for instance, I know a variance was granted for HCA for the hospital. It's a very tall building. It's right by 95. We have no other facilities of our own. They're in close proximity which could provide such a site for clear communication. So in a situation like that, I could see how the board could grant it, or a rational argument could be made. But they first have to look to see if we have a site that would suit their particular location.
Thank you.
Tom?
This is a question, I think, for the city manager, a bit askew of the Board of Adjustment issue. In the event we receive a letter in the future making a request of this sort, and we receive it as a city council, if we approve it with power, then it's fine and it goes forward. In the event we have questions, procedurally, what would occur?
Well, I think what would happen is you'd have to contact me if you had concern about that particular tower or that antenna, and I certainly would then evaluate that and probably come to the full city council. I certainly would, if any council member had concern with it, I would probably slow it down. I mean, the one thing here is we're trying to maximize revenue, but we want to also be sensitive to any issues that might occur. I'm certainly not going to put up an antenna that's going to be an eyesore, but I think it's important for the city council to know before I approve it, this is what it's going to look like, and that's what I'll do.
If I might, for the city manager, I certainly understand, and I would expect that would be the case, and certainly. But what I mean is, there is no other mechanism. It's merely city council specific. It doesn't go before. Okay.
Yeah, if you left it and if you did nothing with this, then each one would have to come back to the city council.
And I'd like to say to each councilor here, especially the new ones, our city manager always puts on his little Bible to us each meeting, if there are any questions, please come to me. Yes, Steve.
Quick question. Obviously, a large part of the reason we're doing this is to get rid of the competitive imbalance that we sometimes face by streamlining. How much streamlining would we be creating here? A matter of what length of time are we cutting out of the process?
Depending, could be a couple of 3 weeks. Depends on in February if I missed the date. If I missed the date right now, let's say came in on Thursday, we wouldn't be back till March. In the summertime, potentially a month. To be honest with you, if the council's uncomfortable with this, I'll withdraw it. I mean, we potentially could lose it. And, I mean, I'm just trying to streamline it, and if you're uncomfortable, don't do it. I mean, we'll just bring it. If we lose one, we lose it. That's all.
Council Grasso?
Yes, I'm comfortable with this in the fact that this does not entail any new construction, that we would only be allowing these to go up on areas where we already have the antennas, so that this would be just another, maybe a sprig in the pine tree or something.
Any other questions of Ted?
No, I just want to say that my question shouldn't be construed as being uncomfortable. I just want to fully understand.
No, I think they're all excellent questions. My point is that the council needs to be fully comfortable with this. And if you are, fine. I'll continue to advise you if somebody comes in with a proposal. Mm-hmm.
We went through this, didn't we, Ted, a few years back?
To provide a little more predictability for the process for our management company. They've been doing a terrific job. They're sharing the profits. We get calls all the time from other municipalities that look upon this as a model. For instance, Kittery, that had to build a brand new tower behind their new police station. They spent $150,000 on it. We spent nothing for ours. They called us up and said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "Not only did it not cost us anything, we're making $20,000 a year off of it." So really, this one as well, if you put up a small antenna on the roof of City Hall, or that opportunity comes up, you want to move quickly and have the opportunity to move quickly before they move to some other entity or someplace else.
Thank you, Ted. Are we all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Is there any other items that you'd like to talk with John before we move on to the mayor?
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilor Whitehouse.
I think it'd be beneficial if he mentions the public information meeting coming up on the 12th in reference to Crescent Way and Atlantic Heights.
Sure. As Councilor Whitehouse indicated, residents are invited to attend the public meeting for the Preble Way, Crescent Way Streetscape Improvements Project that is proposed in Atlantic Heights. The meeting will be held on Thursday, February 12, 2004 at 7 p.m. in the Recreation Room of the Atlantic Heights Senior Development, 40 Bedford Way.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Any other questions of John on anything? Very good. I guess we're down to the mayor. My first thing is the appointments, and these are to be voted on tonight. Cemetery of Valerie Cunningham.
Do you want to basket all the cemetery?
Yeah, why don't we basket all the cemetery ones? Nikki Scarlatti, Robert Scarlatti, Margaret A. Is it Sofo or Tifo? I'm close. The next one is Richard G. Adams, David Elwin, and that's it for the cemetery.
I move these nominations, these appointments to the Cemetery Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Planning Board. We only have one of those, and that's John F. Sullivan.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Traffic and safety, we've got a few of those. Let's gather them together here. Traffic and safety, Roland Cyphers, Fred Gray, Herb Bonnell, Ralph DiVanato. What you wish, Councilor?
Move to accept all for Traffic and Safety Committee.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Conservation Commission, just one of them. It's Barbara McMillan. And would you like to do that, Councilor Reynolds?
Certainly, Your Honor. I move that we accept or that we move the appointment of this person to the Conservation Commission.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The last one is a young man that came into my office and asked if he couldn't be put on the Economic Development Commission. He's a real young fellow, but I think he wants to learn. And I think it's time maybe to have a little younger blood on there. His name is William F. Gladhill. Who would like to make the motion on him? Councilor Hines, because John is going to take over with him and kind of show him the ropes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I do approve of William Gladhill being appointed to the Economic Development Commission and ask for your support.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now, let's see, what else has the mayor got here? All right. Councilor Hines has gone ahead and established his blue ribbon committee of the people that he wants on it. And you all have it in front of you. It came out to be a little bit more than what I thought, but John is going to facilitate this so he can take a final vote on it too. And I will just name the people. It's former Mayor Eileen Foley, State Representative Jim Splain, Reverend Arthur Hilton, Nate Holloway, Ray Wills, Algie Daly, and Margaret Britton. And I'd like your vote of approval tonight.
Your Honor, I move that we approve this slate of residents to the Blue Ribbon Committee to study renaming Pearl Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Way.
Very good. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I'm going to pass this to John, and he's going to tell you a little bit how he's going to do it.
I have had an opportunity to deal with a number of people who have an interest in this issue, which concerns naming a site for Martin Luther King Jr. One of the sites referred was Pearl Street, which would have required a change in the name or an addition to the name. That is still one of the considerations that will be taken up by this committee. In addition to that, we intend to have, over the next month or so, 2 or 3 brainstorming sessions where each member that has been appointed to this committee will come in and suggest or act for other sites in the city, wherever they may be, and finally reach an agreement that some site would be a win-win situation in which there would be no problem with any of the abutters, and that it would do justice to honoring Martin Luther King Jr. in the same style that he always acted, which is to get a non-violent or non-argumentative condition for whatever it is he was advocating. So we hope to reach that, and we will report back to the City Council after our deliberations and allow the council to make the final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do you think, John, this might take place in March?
I think it'll take at least a month, so there'll be some meeting in March that we will come back to the council.
Okay, very good. Thank you, John. Now that takes care of the mayor. Now we're down to, does anyone have any miscellaneous or unfinished business? Nate.
Your Honor, I just have something I would like to mention for the benefit of my colleagues and for our constituents. I spent the latter part of last week, this was pursuant to my professional employment with the nonprofit group Clean Air, Cool Planet, spent the latter part of last week up in Ottawa, Canada, attending the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Sustainable Communities National Conference. I found it to be very educational, inspiring, and enriching, both professionally as well as pursuant to my work and my responsibilities as a member of the council. For everyone's information, I just would like to offer a very succinct definition of sustainability, the best one that I've heard, which is sustainability being the simultaneous pursuit of economic prosperity, environmental quality, and social equity. The reason I wanted to mention this is because I think you will recall that the reports of the Portsmouth Listens study circles, quite a number of them contained a strong thread of this topic, sustainability, and it expressed the desire of the citizens of our community to see Portsmouth move in the direction of becoming a more sustainable community. So I just wanted to bring that up for everyone's information, as I plan to distribute some information to all of you in the months ahead, and expect to bring perhaps a couple of initiatives for the council's consideration. Thank you.
Please bring it to me, Ted, and then we'll make sure it gets to each council. Joanne?
Yes, I would just like to remind people, please let me know your interest in reading to young people in the Portsmouth schools for on March 2nd for the read-along, and I'll try to make the arrangements for you.
And I want to thank John for taking over facilitator on this little problem we've got, and I'm quite sure they'll all solve it. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I move we adjourn, Your Honor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Now, we have no other council meeting until
March 1st.
March 1st. We have in March.